All right, welcome back. Pretty well. I see that the little bars are moving on the audio, so I'm hoping everybody can hear me all right. Uh, in this live stream, what I want to get into is the three main types of remodels that there are. There's a lot of, first of all, let me clarify. There are a lot of reasons, a lot of really good reasons to do a remodel. They tend to be grouped into three main categories. And I'm going to go through some realistic examples, some realistic scenarios in each category. And I'm going to go ahead and, uh-oh. And there we go. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I was just making sure my connection was good. Okay. So, and since this happens literally every time I do a live stream, we're going to get it out of the way right now. And I'm going to introduce you to the real star of the show here. Jackson, come here. Come here. Guys, this is Jackson. He's a golden retriever mix. He's a bozo dog, and I love him. And half the time when I'm talking to the computer, he thinks I'm talking to him anyway. All right, go lay down. Good boy. And so one of the things so let's go ahead and get into the top three reasons for remodel. We're going to get into some examples of each type and the best strategies for approaching each and every type of remodel, because the thought process is different depending on who's doing the remodel and why. So without any further delay here, make sure you leave a comment below. Where are you listening from? I always like to know. I get listeners from all over the United States and even other countries now too. So it's yeah, it's really cool. So I say so a lot, and I need to stop that. So the first type of remodel is a not so pleasant type of a remodel. Not always, anyway. I guess it's however you want to make it. But the first type of remodel is a forced remodel. Now, what I mean by that is you had a fire, you had a flood, you had an earthquake, something, or you had mold, you had something that damaged your home to the point where they got to tear either the whole room or the whole house apart and put it back together. This is hopefully you've got insurance if this happens. So that can take some of the burden off, but it's still a pain. It still means you have to live your life and you didn't get to plan this, it just got thrust upon you. And so one of the reasons I make these videos is each episode is designed to solve one particular problem in a larger remodel machine. There are a lot of steps and a lot of moving parts to a remodel. And I like to, help people find exactly what they're looking for, and everybody's looking for something different. In the case of somebody who is in a what I'll call a forced remodel situation, uh, the best tactic or the best type of thought process to go through is always going to be something along the lines of sorry, my neighbor, there were some sirens outside. I was trying to figure out where it was coming from. Anyway, Forced remodels, the best tactic for a forced remodel is always going to be to A, keep a clear head. You're going to be hugely emotional. So clear heads make better decisions. That's number one. I know that's easy for me sitting in an armchair in my living room to say, but the reality is keep your head clear and don't make decisions based on fear, and certainly try not to make decisions when you're feeling frustrated, because there will be a lot of decisions. There will be a lot of times when you just want to say, just pick one and we'll just put it in, and that's the wrong decision to make. It is. Because you will likely end up with something that you didn't really want, or something you'll regret at the very end. I've seen a lot of people do it, and sometimes they're okay with it, but nobody wants to go through a remodel and just be okay. They want to be better than when they started. Um, and that's the biggest tip for somebody in a forced remodel, is to be very present in your emotions and understand what what you're feeling and how that's affecting the decision making process. So type number 2, now this one's kind of fun. So type number 2 is the house flip. So type number 2, house flip. The best strategy for a house flip. Now, there's different types of house flips. The first is the flip that the financial flip, right? You want you're going to buy a house, put a little bit of work into it, and flip it for more money than what you put into it. And that's that's the ideal. That's the gold standard, right? Excuse me. So I knew a guy, he was a house flipper. He started in a little suburb of San Diego called Poway, California. And he started with like $100,000 houses, and he would buy $100,000 house, put 10,000 into it, sell it for 150, et cetera, et cetera, and just go out from there. And this was many, many, many years ago, before the housing bubble crashed, before the housing bubble peaked, crashed, and it's now set to take a downturn again. Pretty sure. So that's the original flip. That's what people think of. But other things in the flip category could be, uh, let's say you've had your house for a while and it's time to sell, and you haven't remodeled in 20, 30, 50 years, whatever. So, you've got the original faucet from 50 years ago. It's time to update. It is. But you're updating to sell, not to use long term. So while you may want to put in fancy, decorative, awesome things, golds, bronzes, things like that, I would say hold off and do that in your new house, because the one key thing about anybody who's designing who's flipping a house, whether they're flipping a house they already own or whether they're flipping a house that they're going to buy and flip, you're designing to sell. And that's the point, is you want to design this house around whoever's going to walk through the door. And so these are the tips I always give to somebody who is flipping their house. Tip number 1 is stay away from the personal touches. I know you get really excited about this particular color, even though no, not many people are. Um, and I'm going to say go minimal. because you want your house to be easy to sell. So you want your house to be as attractive to as many people as possible. And you want them to imagine their own personal touches in every space, in everything. That's why the realtor is going to tell you take down family photos so the potential new customer, new homeowner can imagine their own family photos above the mantle. That's why. So approaching a house flip, you want to make sure that you're being fairly simple, easy to keep clean, not a lot of detail. You may get really excited about a Roman OG edge on a countertop or a faucet or something with lots of curly cues and designs or a very intricate chandelier. But unless it already fits the style of the home, if you're living in an area where everybody on the block has a fancy chandelier in their entryway, okay, yeah, have a fancy chandelier. But you want your house to stand out to a potential buyer. So here's a couple key ways to do that. First off, yeah, like I said, keep it minimal. Second off, um, secondly, you'll want to make sure that you include a few pop elements, pop features. I don't know a lot about realty, but here's what I do know. What I do know about people, and especially about the way a couple purchases a home, is when they're going to go out and they're going to look at a lot of homes, including yours. And the best tip I can think of in that category, um, they're going to come back. They're going to say, they're not going to say, "Honey, do you remember the house on 13th Street?" They might, um, but more likely they're going to say, "Honey, you remember that house with the commercial kitchen appliances? You remember that house with the steam, the steam shower in the master? Do you remember that house with the big tub?" Something. You want something in there to be attractive so it sticks in their mind, and so they can't stop thinking about it, and that's how you wanna design for a potential remodel, if you are doing a house flip. So, to recap, you have your forced remodels, fire, flood, earthquake, not the best place to be, but make sure you're making calm decisions. You've got your uh, house flips, and then of course you've got your good old fashioned. I'm going to be here for another. Either I just bought this house and it's my last house, or I'm not going to move again for at least another decade. I want this to be my long term home, and it's got a very dated style, or even maybe some broken fixtures and broken things and stuff that could be repaired or done differently. The kitchen could be better laid out, things like that. It's just time for an update. So the third category is called time for an update. And when you're designing or planning a remodel around time for an update, there's a couple of things that really play into the mindset that you need to be aware of. So number one is the reason you're updating is because there are better things out there. So, while it's good to compare, like, I have this, what is this? Don't dismiss something just because it's not like what you have. I have a lot of people, they have like shiny gold fixtures and, marble tile, and they're like, well, or maybe Corian countertops, I don't know. And they always say, oh, well, I don't know about this chrome or this brushed nickel because it's not what I have. And I always want to ask them, I'm like, why would you want what you already have? So that's number one, is being open to new ideas. That's probably the biggest tip for somebody who it's just time for them to update. Be open to new ideas and allow yourself to experience other things, because you might find something that you like better. That's my favorite thing, is even when somebody comes in looking for one thing, I like to show them other things, not because I want them to buy something else. Uh, if this person comes in for brand X in brush nickel and that's what they want, I'm gonna I'm gonna show it to them. If I have it on the floor, I'm gonna show it to them. I remember there was a guy, he came in to my showroom and he said, "I want to buy this roll faucet. I've seen 100 pictures of it online. It was a faucet in from the Perrin and Rowe collection, and it was in uh, the the English bronze finish. Yeah, English bronze. Anyway, he came in and he said, "I want this faucet." So I told him, "Have you seen the faucet?" Because I knew how people tended to react to that faucet because it had very dainty features. It didn't look that way online, but when you get up close, you see that it has some very dainty features. Some might say feminine features. And so I said, "Have you seen it?" He's like, "I've seen 100 pictures online." I said, "But have you seen it?" And he was actually starting to get mad. He looked like he wanted to walk out the door. What he expected was for me to just give him a price and say that faucet is, 400, $500 and cash, check, or charge, and process the order and walk away. But that's not how I roll. You guys, if you've been watching for any period of time, you know I hate regret. It is the worst feeling in the world to feel like you've made a bad decision in your remodel. So I said, "Give me like 2 seconds. I've got it over there. Let me go grab it, please." And he was getting impatient, but I brought the faucet over to him and I showed it to him. I said, "This is the faucet we're talking about. Yours will have lever handles instead of cross handles like this one, but this is what the base is going to look like. This is what the spout's going to look like, etc." And he took one look at it and he went, "That's it?" And I said, "Yeah, that's the faucet you wanted me to order for you." He's like, "I don't want that." And then after that moment, that's when he knew I had his best interests at heart, and we found something. It was about the same price. It wasn't about the price. Um, but we found something from another manufacturer that had a larger presence, which this was a big guy. He had big hands. I figured he would want something that was easier for him to manipulate. That's the bottom line. So yeah, so make good decisions in your remodel by being open to new ideas and being open to the people who are trying to show you these new ideas. Uh, don't fight us. We're I love showing people options because either better about their original decision or they find something they like better. Either way, I consider it a win-win. If I've helped them pick something better, that's great. If they feel great about their original decision, they say, "You know what? This I was right. This one is awesome. That's great. Just want to make sure you've seen all the options before we move forward because I want people to go into their remodel with their eyes wide open." That is my biggest point on all of this. So, uh, thanks for watching. Leave a comment in the comments below. Are you planning a remodel or are you in the middle of one right now? Which category do you put yourself in? Are you just designing to sell? You're flipping? Are you in a forced remodel? You had some sort of a damage that needs to be repaired, or are you just looking to update because it's been over 20 years since your last remodel? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.